Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing, does time make an ex miss you? I provide audio coaching to help people try and get their ex back or get a new girlfriend or boyfriend. Check out my website for more details. www.dateme.tips. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing, does time make an ex miss you? So if you've been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, time can create anxiety. The more time that passes since the breakup, the more anxious a dumpee is likely to be. In my opinion, time passing can actually be beneficial in trying to get your ex back, and in today's podcast, I'll be giving 3 things to consider when we ask the question, does time make an ex miss you? So let's get straight into this, and number 1 is missing someone needs a lack of communication. You can only miss somebody if they are no longer communicating with you. And generally speaking, that means you are no longer seeing them. There are the rare exceptions of where 2 people can actually be living together, but because of a lack of communication, you can actually miss somebody who is with you in person. But generally speaking, to miss somebody is meaning that they are no longer within your space, so that you don't see them physically, you don't see them online, you don't see them in any way, shape or form. That is the main way, the general way in which the feeling of missing somebody is developed. To miss somebody needs space. And therefore, when we consider the question of does time make an ex miss you, we can see clearly that time away from each other will develop the situation possible for somebody to miss you. Your ex can't miss you if you are always in their space. If you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, the natural behaviour that you feel like following is to constantly communicate with your ex. You're probably thinking, well, how can I get my ex back if I don't speak to them? Many dumpees will invent reasons as to why they need to send that final message, why they believe there is reason week by week to reach out to their ex. And although nothing works 100% of the time and nothing fails 100% of the time, what we can say, statistically speaking, is that if you constantly reach out to your ex, you are less likely to reconnect with them long term. And therefore we can see this clearly as showing that if you reach out to your ex constantly, they are not able to miss you. So if we are considering how to create a situation where your dumper will miss you, we need to create space. We can't continually reach out to them. If your dumper knows deep down that you will reach out to them within a few days or within a few weeks, they are no longer going to have the opportunity to miss you. They need to genuinely believe that you have walked away with no intention of reaching out to them again. And therefore, I always suggest that if you have been dumped, you should never contact your ex again unless they contact you first, barring, of course, a few discrepancies, a few exceptions to the rule that I've spoke of in other podcasts. But generally speaking, if you have been dumped, I believe that you must move forward in a way where you don't contact your ex again unless they contact you first. And this will enable yourself to be in a position where space is between you and your ex. Missing someone needs a lack of communication. Missing someone needs space. And therefore, as time moves forward with you not reaching out to your ex, this enables them to start wondering, you know what? Have I actually heard the last from my dumpee? Have they really gone forever? What are they doing right now? Why won't they reach out to me? Why won't they reaffirm my value? And these are the feelings, these are the thoughts which can manifest in a dumper's mind to eventually create a scenario where they might start to miss their dumpee. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. about does time make an ex miss you? And point number 2 is the fading effect bias. So the fading effect bias dictates that negative memories fade sooner than positive memories. Now, this doesn't mean that somebody will forget something which happened to them, which was bad. This doesn't mean that your ex will forget your bad behavior. But what it does mean is that your ex will view things that they originally seemed as bad, as negative. They will start to lose value in their mind sooner than positive memories you had together. So let's try to break this down and make it less complex. When you are in a relationship, you will have good times, you will have not so good times, and you will have bad times. Unfortunately, for your ex to end the relationship, they were feeling a very low level of romantic emotional attraction at the time of the breakup. They were not feeling fulfilled at the time of the breakup. Whatever you feel right now, whatever you think right now, your ex ended the relationship for a reason, okay? So, unfortunately, your ex, the dumper, will have some negative memories of you within the relationship. This doesn't mean they are right. This doesn't mean it was that bad in the scheme of things, but to them, to your ex, they were important factors of why this relationship was no longer working. Now, the beauty of a fading effect bias is that these memories will lose value over time sooner than the positive memories. So the positive memories that you and your ex have together, when you were enjoying life, when you were going through the honeymoon period, no doubt, probably and possibly months and months, years and years of great times together, these memories will hold their positive value for much longer than the negative memories hold their value. So your ex, the dumper, won't forget about what has happened. They're not going to forget about why they decided to end the relationship. But when they think back, as time moves forward, they will start to think, well, maybe it wasn't so bad, it felt bad at the time, but looking back, it doesn't feel so bad now. This is why people say the phrase, oh, you're looking back with rose-tinted glasses, because we do generally look back to the past in a more favourable way. And as a dumpee, this is very helpful, because all of the positive things, all of the positive experiences that you shared with your ex, they will still shine bright for longer than the negative situations which unfortunately did get involved in your relationship. And negative things did unfortunately encroach in your relationship. And this will be one of the reasons as for why your ex ended this connection. So the fading effect bias will help the dumpee, because as time moves forward, this will enable the dumper to lose value in the negativity whilst holding the value of the positivity. And therefore, as time moves forward, as the fading effect bias takes hold, which normally takes a number of months to really start to develop, I believe from my research it's about 6 months and further that the fading effect bias generally starts to take place. This will enable a dumper to miss their ex the more time that passes, because the more time that goes on, the stronger the fading effect bias will take place in their mind, and therefore the negativity surrounding their mindset will start to lose value. So the more time that moves forward, the less power of the negativity will surround the dumper's mind, and therefore, as you can see, a dumpee will have the opportunity to be seen as a brighter light, you might say, in their ex's mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about does time make an ex miss you? And point number 3 is self-reflection takes time. You can't judge your own journey until you have explored, and this takes time. So this can be for all of us. This is for me, this is for you, this is for your ex. We can't judge the latest leg of our journey until we have explored that journey. Until we have explored life in this current incarnation, we can't judge it, we can't look back. And one of the most powerful ways for a dumper to decide that they've made a mistake and want to reach out to their dumpee is self-reflection. The thought that their life isn't going the way that they had hoped. Maybe they've made a mistake, and perhaps they should revisit a past relationship, a past connection with their dumpee. But self-reflection doesn't happen instantly. You can't self-reflect until you have something to self-reflect about. And therefore, when we consider the fact of time and how it can develop a situation where somebody might miss their former partner, as you can see, time is beneficial because the more time that passes, the closer you are to going through self-reflection. So the more time that has gone by between you and your partner splitting up, you will see more opportunity for them to have lived their life, and if it is not going the way they had hoped, this is when they are more likely to self-reflect. Now, as a dumpee, you might be thinking, well, they might be living their best life. Why would they self-reflect? Why does it necessarily mean it's going bad for them? And of course, we can't guarantee anything. And unfortunately, some dumpees will never hear from their ex again, and some dumpers will live their best life instantly after a breakup. But statistically speaking, in most instances, between long-term relationships, you are looking at more than a year. If you look at that year, or sometimes 2, 3, 4 years in between, you will see many failed connections, things that are being explored that aren't as enjoyable as you might first feel. I call this the single honeymoon period. It is a time where somebody tries to live their best life as a singleton, but unfortunately they are very unlikely to find a compatible long-term partner. And therefore, after a certain period of time, this starts to become a lifestyle which is no longer exciting and instead is quite depressing at times. You might be thinking, I'm single, I entered a relationship with somebody who really loved me, and I'm alone. This isn't fun anymore. I've tried to date a few people and it's not worked out. This is when self-reflection can take place. Like I say, nothing is guaranteed, but in most instances, a dumper will go through at least some self-reflection because they are unlikely to find a long-term compatible partner instantaneously after the breakup has taken place. And therefore, you can see that as more time moves forward, the more opportunity there is for the dumper to self-reflect. It's important for me to say that after we pass a year between you and your partner splitting up, this unfortunately does start to decrease the possibility of you getting your ex back. Now listen, I've heard of some crazy stories of dumpers contacting their dumpees many years after a breakup. So if you've passed a year, I'm not saying you'll never hear from your ex again. Okay, anything is possible. I've even heard anecdotally of people reaching out decades after a breakup, even though this might not help you right now to consider. It's always showing that we never know when the story ends. We never know what the future holds. But I have to be honest and say that after a year has passed since your breakup, the odds of reconciliation are unfortunately smaller. They're not impossible, but they do shorten. So I don't want you to be living your life in a way where you're just sitting at home thinking, look, my ex will reach out to me sometime, I'm just going to wait. Unfortunately, there is no guarantee they ever will. And even if they do and it's a few years later, do you really want to be thinking, I've just lived the last few years sitting at home doing nothing? Not at all. You need to live your life. You need to move forward, go through self-improvement and make new connections. If you date new people, this isn't going to be something which stops your ex reaching out to you in months or years to come. So live your life to the full, and if and when you hear from your ex, you can then make a decision about what you want to do. But please don't clock watch, please don't wait around, because there is no guarantee that you will hear from your ex again. Stay positive, live life to the full, and make new connections. Whether you want your ex back or not, you can and will have a positive future. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.
Yeah, if you miss your ex, we can help with that. Help you get him back, or we can help find you someone else. Yeah, Vincent, the relationship coach, giving you some insight, bringing you a new approach. DateMe.tips, go and check the site, giving you advice, helping with your love life. Get your ex back, or move to the next. Ain't no sweat, you know Vincent got you. Finding love ain't no problem. Yeah, DateMe.tips, check it out now.